Everybody, excited utterance here. My name's Hella, and look, I'm a little bit sort of tennis chic today. Why not? It's summer here anyway. And sorry to hear about California. We have bushfires here as well. I wasn't expecting to hear about bushfires, or not bushfires, forest fires, whatever they're called, in the US in winter. That was news to me. I was just talking to my co-host, Dali Ilya T-Bone Satchel, about that. And yeah, very sorry to hear about that. I hope that all my friends are safe, and for those who are affected, my thoughts and prayers. And I actually really mean that. I know it sounds like a hollow thought, but I do think about people who are in trouble. Okay, so Mavka, how do I always hear about American news before? How do you always hear about American news before I do? You know what's interesting, Mavka? You guys hear about Australian news before I do. Interestingly, yes, people around here go, "Oh, have you heard about that stabbing down the road?" And I'll be like, "Nope," but have have you heard that that somebody has been like P Diddy has been indicted, and they'll be like, "No, no, I don't know anything about that." Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Today, or tonight for you guys, is going to be huge again, and we're starting early. So this is a pre-game stream and a bit of a recap of the big interview last night with Jennifer Auger. Is it Auger or Auger? I will probably be pronouncing it incorrectly, but forgive me for that. I'm an Aussie, haha. And I watched the whole thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys did hear too. If you didn't, let me know what part of it you've heard about, and we'll just try and play that back for you. I just want to say hello to a few people in chat first. So, Demon's Wrath, how are you? Were you here 2 hours ago, were you? And Ange, you too? Watching the clock tick down. John, you're nice and early. You've been here for 20 minutes. Donnie, Pitbull, Kuntz. Is that how you say it? Hello. Bye, friends, my dear. Nice to see you, mofo. My mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. Okay. Plant piggies. Nice to see you, plant piggies. Okay, so I put a question at the top of chat, and I want to sort of start a bit of discussion because we're going to be having a look at yesterday's interview and getting ourselves all excited for tonight's interview, which is with Andy Baldwin. Yeah. Okay, so biggest bombshell. When she said I think that says defense attorneys are happy now that the suspect drawings are investigatory and not evidence, and the Google search about Libby's phone is not hearsay. Yes, I remember that. And isn't that interesting? Because usually suspect drawings aren't admissible, and now they are. Well, there you go. Yes. I'll see if I can find that part. I'll see if I can bring that part up. They have, thank you to Defense Diaries also for being very quick with timestamping out the interview. So we can quickly flick through parts of it and find the bits that we are looking for. You don't hear Australian news. I'm not surprised. Okay. Hello, David. Now we have a defense attorney in chat. Hello. You like to speak. I know you do. I know you do. Hey, David, are you back in America yet? And I don't suppose you caught the interview with Jennifer Auger? It was really interesting. And I'd like to say, and I know that defense attorneys, they get a bad rap. And these particular defense attorneys, the Rosie Baldwin team and Jennifer being part of the team, they particularly have gotten a bad rap. lately, thanks in no small part to the most recent press conference that was given a few weeks ago after the sentencing of Richard Allen. They were just, there's just no way of other way of putting it. They were bashed by the superintendent, by everybody in the prosecution side. They were blamed for pretty much everything, starting World War III. And Jennifer actually said, like, they've had death threats, and someone came up to her afterwards and said, "I hope you burn in hell." She just seemed like the most lovely person, didn't she, guys? She seemed just like the most sweet and honest and caring, empathetic person. And I have to say that of all the defense attorneys I know, and I know a few, you being one, David, it takes a really caring, empathetic person to be able to see the good in somebody who's accused of a terrible crime, and to really put yourself in their position and to fight for their rights. In this instance, with Richard Allen, I believe that his defense counsel truly believes in his innocence, and that makes it an even bigger burden on them. So there you go. I'm being nice to you today, David. Being nice to you today. You like to speak, but Sal doesn't let you. Yeah. Hey, factual lie. Hey, Taryn, how are you? Love a good timestamp. Yeah, you're a little late. That's all right. I'm a little late. You're already torn. Yeah. You definitely have not watched any of Sal's streams. No, I don't watch them either. Catastrophe in the house. How are you? Good to see you. I know you watched it. It was on Defense Diaries. Yes. Okay, and Tony is here. Okay, yes, they blame the defense for Fortson's death. Right, yes, that's true. They blame the defense for just about everything they could think of. Yeah, they made out like they were just the most disgusting people who ever walked the earth. Hey, Judge Jessica, great to see you too. And woman, I'll never think of you as anything but woman doing just the tip. Sorry. That's just you. Darlie, don't watch that crap. Speaking of, you're getting a bit of shtick in chat today, and you're muted.
You muted me.
I like doing that. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, but there's a few haters in chat. What's going on?
I don't know. I don't know what I did to anyone. I'm a sweet
Might be all
little
those
lamb.
streams where you don't bother to put your face on there.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Maybe
thought it would have
that's-
been the opposite.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I'm told I have my face makes people angry for some reason. I don't know why.
Maybe it's because you're a narcissist.
That could be. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's it. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. Hey, Deanna, how are you? Yeah, I heard that he had a good stream about smoking meats. All the cutting edge topics on Dali
Really
Talk.
was.
Yeah.
Smoking meats with Judge Fleischer.
Yeah, woman still does the tip. Yeah, I would never think of her as anything else other than woman doing just the tip. Okay, guys. So, yeah, you had positive things to say? Oh, good. All right. Okay, so guys, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having a look at the interview yesterday. I've sent a link out to Ange as well, if she can get home in time because she's just finishing work up. If she can get home in time and get ready to come on stream, she's welcome. And yeah, but I've also I've put up a question. What was your biggest bombshell moment? So guys, if you want to let me know what particular part of the interview from yesterday you want to look over. Let me know, because if you've got a big bombshell moment you want to chat about, let's go. But the first one I want to have a look at is, we'll go kind of in order. I wanted to look at the thing about the van. Geofencing. Well, geofencing went for a while. Is there something specific about the geofencing woman? We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, she knows her shit when it comes to the geofencing. Okay. And hello to Chinny as well. Deanna, hey, how's it going? All right. So let's go, guys. Let's go. Alrighty. Alrighty. I really feel for this lady. She's obviously, I can tell she's devastated, but like she knew it was going to happen in her heart, but at one point she lost it a bit. Like she got visibly upset. Is DB a mod here yet? Curious Luke. Not yet. He hasn't put the feelers out on that one yet. He might end up being a mod. We'll see if he's nice. Good to see you, Luke. Alrighty, let's go.
Especially based on the facts of this case and just being a defense attorney, it just seemed so disingenuous, and I don't know if some of that came as a surprise that they were going to use that white van in that way.
Well, to speak, I don't want to talk about trial strategy there,
Understood.
God willing, we'll have another trial.
Keep it in your back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. But, to your point, you said we don't know if he was asked about a white van. Part of the, structural issues with this case all comes out of the Indiana Department of Corrections. We will never know what Monica Walla said to Rick Allen.
There we go.
Or asked Rick Allen.
Boom.
Because that was the apparently only time that Rick Allen wasn't recorded while he was at Westville. Her notes have been shredded.
Of course.
I don't know.
Yeah, I want you to say that again, because Rick Allen, if you were at the trial and you're aware, they had him recorded 24/7. There was an in-cell camera, and when he was transported, that's when the controversial camcorder, which, by the way, the warden originally said did not.
She needed them
sound,
for her hamster's cage.
Did you guys ever get it with sound?
Yeah. They did.
No, did the defense, were you ever produced it with sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I know that is because Brad was going to play the videos from the camcorder.
No, I thought that was the state.
Brad was going to play the videos from the camcorder, like, of them transporting Rick. And then he mentioned the fact when he was getting ready to cue it up, he mentioned it in front of Judge Gull that it had sound. And Gull was like,
This is
what?
interesting.
It's like, sound. So they had to, like, they had to go and they had to re-pull
Sarah.
all the videos, and Max had to take all the sound out of it so they could show them. So, but that was shocking because the testimony initially at the first safekeeping hearing with the warden on the stand had said that camcorder did not have sound. And that was when Brad was trying to make a point of, we are there on an attorney-client visit, and they're turning our client's chair to face a window, and you're recording them. And we don't know, so I was like, because as an attorney, I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And they, if you go back and look at his testimony, it's in stone. I mean, the man testified that camcorder had no sound. And I went back, like, after that hearing, I came home and I told Alice, I'm like, did those old camcorders, like those handhelds, was there a way to turn off the microphone? And I didn't know the answer to it. So yeah, like the Monica Walla thing is really hard to wrap your mind around in terms of what she may or may not have done. But to have her in a position to where we have no idea, like you said, what she said or what she didn't say, and no way to prove it. And it turns out, which I did not know, and that was one of my questions, you beat me to the punch, was that the only time in all the time that Rick was at Westville that was not taped? And with that day that he made that wordy confession, the confession that she claims that he made.
Well, Brad is the best person to ask about this, but none of those, when they let him out of his cell on a leash, sometimes hooded in shackles, to the cage where he got his mental health treatment. The cage mental health sessions were not recorded. And that's it. That is, to my knowledge, the only time at Westville he was not recorded. And remember, I mean, you guys know this, but at that point in time, according to our Constitution, according to the federal Constitution, according to the state Constitution, he is innocent.
Absolutely.
He is innocent. And we are treating innocent people this way.
It's outrageous.
It's beyond anything. I'm so disappointed in our society.
Yeah.
This should never happen in a civil society, what they did to Rick Allen.
And
100%. And you know what? Like, I've said it so many times before. I don't even care if he's innocent or guilty. It shouldn't happen to anybody. What they did to him should not happen to anybody. The torture that he went through, it's inhumane. It's barbaric what happened to him. So on the fact that this stuff that was said between him and Walla, the only way that it can be recounted is via her, yet supposedly there were notes and there was some video, potentially with audio, and it's just gone. It's just her words, right? So why, when there's so much other video and things within his time at Westville?
Yeah.
Right? It's written, it's against the Geneva POW Convention. 100%. 100%. We should be looking at that.
Well,
right? So
in
why
theory,
aren't there
yes.
aren't there people bringing that up? Sorry?
Well, yes, but Indiana is not governed by that agreement.
They're exempt from the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, it's just for prisoners of war, like military fighting other military. So how we treat our citizens does not necessarily, or it can go against something in the Geneva Convention.
Okay,
Like
I
chemicals that are
understand.
used against us, and
I understand. He's not a prisoner of war. It's more of an ethical debate.
yeah, I'm not saying I agree with it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the way it is.
Yeah. America doesn't follow the Geneva Convention.
I mean, there's that too.
He's a prisoner of the state, not of war.
Sad, but yeah.
There's just no justifying it in my mind. Okay, so let's move on. So the other one I wanted to have a look at. Hey, Snibbles, how are you? I 1,000% think, 1,000,000% think. I love 1,000,000%. 1,000,000% think she is too full of herself to shred her notes. It's buried in the backyard. Tell me something, guys. Is it true that she's back there with him now? Like she's back there in
Wasn't
Westville
she-
working?
Does she still work there? I thought she.
I thought she was sacked, but is it true that she's there? I'm asking some people in chat who might know. Hey, Steve is here. Angel's not devil's favorite. I reckon your cats fight, my friend. I reckon they fight. Okay, so for Dali, because you're a cat lover, there's a white cat, beautiful white cat called Angel, and there is it a black cat, Steve, called Devil or Diablo? Yeah, and Angel's everyone's favorite,
Of course.
right? Yeah, of course. Steve's lovely. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So thank you again for all these timestamps. Right, so now the one that really got me, I'm just going to have a look at my notes. The video. Yeah, no, we'll look at the video first. So, stabilized video. Yes, this thing with the stabilized video.
In terms of that, no, I mean, we'll move on. But so specifically, but I want to stay on the phone because I have a couple of questions. And sitting in that courtroom, Jennifer, and you know how many times the videos were shown. So we first see the original video.
Hey,
And I remember, you know, everybody that's followed this case for all these many years, we've always seen the clip. We've always heard that, you know, that the actual video was somewhere between 43 and 48 seconds long. And when they played it, when McClellan finally played that thing, and I'm sitting there in the courtroom, I think I was in the second row, had a pretty good view of the screen, and I'm trying to take every second of that thing in. I had never laid eyes on it, and I was dying to see it. And so I'm looking at it, and I don't see anybody behind Abby when I'm watching the original. And I'm like, and it didn't seem like it was 43 seconds long. I remember walking out of the courtroom. I'm like, was that really 43 seconds long? I was like, maybe I was just trying to bring everything in, I was trying to see it all. I was trying to listen to it all. I was trying to take it all in. And maybe the time just, you know, didn't operate how it normally does. But I didn't see anybody behind her. I'm like, okay, maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. So then we see a second version, which is the enhanced video. And I'm like, wow, I see the dude now.
What?
And then we see the stabilized video, which was a third version.
Why is this all
which
necessary?
completely blew my mind, because at that point, when I'm looking at it, it almost seemed as if they were able to access the back camera and the front camera
Right,
both,
Jake Brooks?
because you just saw things that you did not see in either of the two earlier versions that we had seen. So I guess my question to you is what is your understanding? And I heard what their guy testified to about how he came up with that video, but what is your understanding? Do you have a better understanding of exactly how or where that stabilized video came from?
And what we were seeing?
Sure.
Please.
The stabilized view I've watched that video hundreds of times.
I bet.
I've listened to it hundreds of times. And so the stabilized view wasn't much different from the video I saw. The audio, I think that the audio should have spoke for itself, in like the idea of someone saying what they thought Abby said.
And I would say typically in the law, that is one of the things that the judge doesn't allow an expert to testify to. The jurors are supposed to use their own ears and decide what's being said.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And he wasn't an expert.
Or
Right.
a layman.
He was a cop.
So it wasn't that different from the video I've watched so many times, but I've had the benefit of viewing it, like I said, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So it to me, it didn't make much of a difference.
I mean, for those of us that saw the videos twice.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to hear you say that, because
every single person in that courtroom, when I left and I'm like talking to Lee and Andrea, I'm like, was that thing like, was it just me, or was that thing unbelievably different in terms of what we saw? But again, like I'm having to harken back to days prior when they showed the first enhanced video. And then I'm trying to remember what I saw. And I mean, to me and to all of us, we felt that this thing was like vastly different, So like, I didn't come trying to report something that wasn't true in my mind, and everyone else that I spoke with in that gallery that saw it was like, wow, like, where did that thing come from? It seemed like there was a portion of that video where Abby's walking towards Libby that I just did not see on the enhanced version. Like it was different. Like the whole voice recognition thing is a whole different ball of wax. Like allowing whoever, I forget who was their guy, the video guy, the guy who, what's his face? The dude who recognized Rick's voice and had listened to 700 hours and said that.
Oh, Brian Harshman.
Yeah, Harshman. So Harshman, like allowing him to say that he's reached the conclusion that that's Rick Allen's voice on that video.
Look
will
at her
never
face.
not stun me in terms of that being allowed.
Look at her
in the
face.
court of law.
Considering the enhancement and not knowing how that affected the sound of the voices.
Yeah, and the thing that Jennifer's talking about is when you have Liggett on the stand and he's talking about the things that he allegedly hears Abby say. Now, I want to ask you flat out, he had the ability to be able to listen to them with headphones. Are the things that he's saying that Abby said, or is that legitimate? Did you hear those things? I'm assuming you listened to it with headphones.
I listen to it a lot. It's debatable, The problem here's the problem: you can't put toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
Once someone says this is what it says, it's hard to hear anything else. No matter what's actually on the audio, right? And so, there have been a lot of iterations of what we thought Abby may have said.
In a new trial, you guys have to ask for the jurors to get their own headphones and listen to it themselves so that the state can't say there's something special that you can hear with the headphones on that you can't.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so
and then
right, so okay, I have to just give credit to Jennifer here because, and this happened a lot throughout the interview, she doesn't answer, but her face just speaks volumes, right? So she's got to be really careful because we hope there will be another trial, right? And if she speaks too much, if she says really anything much about the evidence, then that could be prejudicial, that could be problematic for Rick, and she does not want that to happen.
Sure.
But she can have facial expressions. That's, you're not going to be able to use that, right? So she's been really careful, and I just love the way that Bob and Ali are able to speak, and like they mentioned Harshman, for example, and she clearly rolled her eyes. She was just like, yeah, like that. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, I wanted to, regarding this thing with, there've been some people in chat talking about interpolation. And so I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a graphic designer. I teach graphic design.
Really?
And yes, I do. There may
did
be
not
some
know
people
that.
here who did not know that. You can maybe not be so facetious. Anyway, is that a big word? All right.
I'll get my dictionary.
Yeah, so interpolation is making up pixels out of nothing, right? So if and I have heard this whole thing about this video potentially being resampled up. So resampled is the same as interpolation. I'm not sure whether that's the case. The version they really got everyone in on, probably a is that a Grey Hughes special where they wanted a relook. Yeah. So yeah, I was just going to show you. Hang on, let me show you. Can I present?
You got it?
I'll just remove that for a minute. Present. I have to present entire screen for this.
Yeah, again. Bear with us,
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah. Okay, so here's Photoshop, right? So if, oops, I just zoomed in the wrong screen because I'm a
dear.
boomer. Okay, so over here, right? So if we look at pixels, let's say pixels, right? I used to have a cat called Pixel. So say that the original image of Bridge Guy was just a bunch of pixels like that. So it was really, really low resolution. So this is a very simplistic example. Interpolation or resampling is if I were to go, hello, software, can you please make up the rest of this image with your algorithms? And I was to go, so image mode, image size. And then I were to go, hello, it's only 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters at 72 pixels per inch. I would like it to be much bigger, please, so the jury can see it. So how about I tell it to be, I don't know, not millimeters. How about I make it 100 at 72? And I would like it to use what's called bicubic smoothing, or I would like it to enlarge, preserve details and enlarge. And then what it does is it basically makes up all of the detail in between by guessing what would be between, say, this pixel and this pixel. All right, so it would go, this one's this dark and this one is this dark. So I'll make up what would be all of these pixels in between. So we'll go, okay, and zoom it out. Now you can see there's lots and lots more pixels, right? And it's made up all that detail, right? Which is really not detail. It's just a bunch of garbage, right? But
Spooky.
yeah, spooky. Okay, so that's interpolation or resampling. They're both kind of interchangeable terms. And if you had something like a figure of a person that was kind of like a Roblox character, right? Because that's kind of what it would look like if it were just a bunch of pixels. And then you use some software to interpolate or resample it up, it would come out looking kind of blurry and chunky like that. But then if you did some more work to it, you could make it look more realistic. I've said over and over, if I had the original video, I could probably make BG look like a bunch of different people using resampling.
Remind me about that after stream. Second of all, if you go, can you oh, you already closed it.
No.
Can you make it a true and accurate copy, making it bigger by like increasing the pixels at the same number of pixels each time?
What do you mean? Sorry.
So like you have 1 pixel and then you expand it by like into 4 pixels and you do it for each pixel in the picture. So it's like a true copy, but you're still able to make it bigger like blow it up.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So you can blow it up and still have it just look like pixels. But that's
Okay.
but it will be unrecognizable,
Okay.
right? So if you're going to interpolate it like that, then it is going to be distorted. There's no question about it. The software is still guessing what the extra pixels are, right? So you can't make pixels out of nothing. It's kind of one of my mottos when I'm teaching. It's like people are always trying to sort of upscale images to be bigger than they are, and when it comes down to it, where there's no pixels, there's no pixels, right? So if they're not there, then you have to fake them in some way, right? So if those pixels weren't there, then that image of BG has been faked in some way, right? So pieces of that image have been generated. There's just no way around it. Assuming that he started off as just like an unrecognizable chunk of a small amount of pixels. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Okay. Next thing I wanted to look at was yes. Okay, the thing we're not supposed to talk about. Kelsey and the Snapchat. So this was my big sort of bomb moment. And it was at 1:35 or so.
Through Eldridge, was she able to do anything with that video in terms of being able to validate that what was on that video, that it was in its original format, that there was no photoshopping done or anything of that nature? I mean, was she able, without having the device, can you even do that type of thing?
I mean, we had the video from the extraction, and there was no evidence that that video was anything other than what it was.
Okay, fair enough. So with the going back to the phone, and you had mentioned the Snapchat, there was I think it was Brian Bunner, might have been Cecil now. I don't think I one of the two of them, where there was like the discussion about there was an original on the phone, there wasn't an original on the phone. You guys had the phone. Some of the Snapchats or all the other Snapchat pictures except the one on the bridge were on the phone. Can you explain all of that for us?
And let me specify. She's talking about that the photo of Abby alone on the bridge that was somehow out in the Snapchat world, but the original was not found in the Snapchat cache or on the phone itself, saved in photos. And the question of where did that photo come from?
Right. I mean, that's so the picture of Abby on the bridge, and that was all over the I think I got it off the internet before I entered my appearance. Like, some of this stuff that I looked at, I found on the internet. So anyway, the picture of Abby on the bridge, every other picture that Libby posted from Snapchat was in the Snapchat cache or in her photos that we could tell, except that one picture of Abby on the bridge. And that the law enforcement learned about that picture from Kelsey German, who said she saw it. And so if you look at what was entered into evidence at the top left, it says 7 hours ago. And I think she said she saw it at 9:05, as and so they hearkened it back to 2:05. That the photo had been taken at 2:05. Now, my understanding is, Snapchat doesn't say posted 7 hours and 25 seconds ago, or 7 hours and 12 minutes ago. So I don't know how accurate 205 is, but where did it come from? It came from her Snapchat account, but not off her phone.
What?
I mean,
So-
is there any way that it could have, like that's the thing, like that? Did you ask Eldridge? Like, all right, because look, I am admittedly a complete Luddite when it comes to Snapchat. Like, I was going to my 18-year-old and asking her, okay, you have to explain Snapchat to me as if I'm 5 years old, because I don't understand any of it. I don't understand how it saves pictures. She's like, well, there's a setting where you can save it to your photos, or you can send it out. Like, because the thing that kids like about Snapchat is that shit disappears. Like, it's like messages disappear, photos that you send disappear. So, I was like, is there some way that it could have been taken on that phone by Libby, wherein it somehow disappeared without being traceable in any way, shape, or form? Does that exist as a possibility?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that any expert or investigator is aware of.
And all the other Snapchat photos were on her device.
Yeah.
Or in her Snapchat cache.
Okay, so, all right, this is kind of a big deal. So, anyone kind of new to this, there is a photo of Abby, right, on the bridge, supposedly at 2:01 or 2:02, something like that afternoon, taken in Snapchat. And they're saying that it wasn't in her Snapchat cache, right? I say cache, right?
Cachet. It's weird.
So where did it come from, everybody? There's only one other person that has access to this account, and it's Kelsey, right? And sorry to say the K word, but yeah, it's Kelsey, right? Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong? Someone help me out. Then Find My Phone was on her per trial testimony. Yeah, Elrin, boom, there it is. Truth hurts. Right? So do you remember how, yeah, post-punk mama. And when, yeah, I'm not wrong. Yep. Look, this theory's been getting around for a while, and people who say it get chastised for bringing the family into it, for even suggesting remotely that any family member could even know anything about what happened to the girls. Kelsey dropped the girls off that day. We don't know what happened then. But Rick Allen said he saw 3 girls walking, not 2. She studied forensics. Yeah. And the iPad was connected to the same iCloud account. And her hair was wrapped around Abby's finger. And not just wrapped around, like wrapped around and pulled out at the root. Yeah. So this is all,
Yeah.
it's all very weird. All facts. Yankety yanked. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Yeah, that's that's always going to be a mystery to me. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
where
don't
did the
really-
original come from again? Snapchat?
No one knows. No one knows.
No one knows.
How did you get the original?
Well, I don't have the original. What we have is the screenshot that Kelsey took of Snapchat.
Did anyone have the original? Because from what I gather, you can put it out to the public, which means that all of your friends in Snapchat see it, or you can send it directly to an individual, right? So one of those two things exists. And so, but that still wouldn't be the original, right? I mean, that would be a copy of the original. If you've sent it to somebody, like, does that person, in order to maintain it on in their photo roll, they have to screen grab it. So that means, like, if it came through and like Kelsey's like, oh, this is a cute picture of Abby, and she screen grabs it, she's like, I've got it now. I'll keep it in my picture roll, which I think kids do all the time. Like if they get good shot. So, but like, I mean, and I think that you made the suggestion that, isn't it seem likely that maybe somebody else who had access to Libby's Snap, aside from Abby, who we know had access to it, logged in and somehow took that picture? I mean, that's not a crazy.
Bob is being very diplomatic and careful. Kelsey told police she took 2 showers that day, one in the afternoon around 4 p.m. after helping her boyfriend wash out his flatbed truck. Her boyfriend is a hunter. What's his name again? Can't recall his name. Luke, you are a treasure trove of information there, Luke. Thank you. Yep. Had they properly done near anything, we wouldn't be here. That's true. Chase Wilbur, right? Yep. Okay. Did the jury not understand this concept? The photo was not on the phone. Look, Catastrophe, I think, Kat, that it's not many people understand Snapchat unless you're sort of Gen Z, maybe. I mean, Snapchat, it's one of those things that, I mean, I've used Snapchat. I used it for a year or two, a little while ago, and I didn't even really quite grasp how it saved photos and why it would save photos to your photo reel sometimes and then not other times. But I'm sure that if you use some sort of software that the data forensics people would use, you'd be able to get the whole thing down, no problem. So forensics people looked at it, and clearly, as Jennifer's saying, it wasn't there. It wasn't in the cache. And I can't believe that the Snapchat software would be able to clear it completely from the cache. That just doesn't make any sense at all.
It
right?
saves like an encrypted version of the photo on the phone. So it's still on the phone afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I imagine with Snapchat's help, they'd be able to recover it.
Oh, I would think they'd be able to recover it even without any help.
They've gotten pretty good about encryption, but yeah.
Have they? Right. But this is 2017,
Oh,
remember? So, yeah.
then there was a time when Snapchat would just rename the photo or the extension of the photo so it couldn't be loaded. But if you just renamed it to like JPEG, you could then reload it. I think
True.
that was fixed in 2017, but I could be mistaken.
Oh, I love this comment. Wilbur has arguably effeminate eyes. Not in a gay way, is a good-looking guy, the kind Sarah Carver would make a fuss over. Now, isn't that interesting?
Are you talking about me?
Effeminate. No,
Oh.
you do not. You do not have effeminate eyes. Effeminate lips, maybe. But underneath the cookie duster. Effeminate eyes was one of the things that was said about one of the persons of interest or suspects that was seen. So just saying. All right, let's keep going.
Theory. And frankly, it's the only thing that seems that could have happened. Am I missing something on that?
No, I mean, look, I made the same calls to my kids. Explain this to me. How does this work, right? And then I got some validation. But yeah, that's the only explanation we've ever been able to come up with, that I've ever heard anyone come up with, is someone else had access to her account.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of jury questions after, and I was trying to look through my notes because I don't know how I didn't take it down. It was either Cecil or Bunner about the Knowledge C and about the Snapchat. And I'm wondering if you can recall feeling like, all right, the jury gets it. Like this is because they did ask a lot of technical questions about that. Do you recall? Do you recall that?
I recall a lot of questions. I'd have to go back. I took pretty good notes. I'd have to go back and look at them to remember all of those. But my recollection is that there was a juror, maybe an alternate juror, who seemed to have a lot of background knowledge about some things that kept popping up into a lot of the questions. I mean, they asked really good, thoughtful, insightful questions a lot of the time.
And did
Judge Jessica.
Do you recall that giving you guys, making you feel like that was benefiting the defense?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And maybe you're thinking is right, that those could have been coming from alternates.
Well, I think that there was a juror in the back row that was seated towards the middle. That was the guy that was sending all the super techie questions out. Like it seemed to have a real deep knowledge base of kind of technology like that. And it's like, frankly, I thought that particular individual in my mind was going to end up being the foreperson of the jury. I frankly was stunned who ended up being the foreperson. And this is just me being a lawyer sitting in there, because you know how it goes. You're always sitting there during the course of a trial trying to figure out which jurors you think you've got, which jurors, that juror made eye contact with me. Oh, that one gave me a little bit of a
this
smile.
one gave me a wink.
Like all the little things that we as lawyers are always trying to do to try to figure out if we're making points with jurors. And like that particular individual ended up being the foreperson really surprised me, because I just didn't see it coming. But then again, I'm always wrong about juries.
I love that
that's the one
quote.
thing that
Okay.
is all.
Bob. Oh, Bob.
Oh, poor Bob.
Quote Bob Motter. I'm always wrong about juries.
To be fair, I think most people are.
No, I'm always right. No, 99% of the time they vote guilty. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
2023, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, sorry, but it's true. That's not a good one to put on your website, Bob. That quote. And the other thing is, just if it's televised, right? Just watch the Law and Crime or Court TV chat and look at the poll, because whatever the normies are saying, that's what's going to be the result. Yeah, that is what's going to be the result.
Didn't used to be that way, but
that is what it is now.
well, yes, I know, but it just society has changed.
Yeah, I know. Law Kong Express, thanks for the $5. What did Bridge Guy carry, the product he used to clean at least one of the bodies? Oh, look, don't even start me on that. In fact, I think there is a section on the crime scene. And Okay. Juries are always influenced by the state. Of course they are. Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, Bryn, because the juries are instructed not to be influenced by sympathy or emotion, yet the prosecution brings sympathy and emotion into their closing argument big time. Right? So, yeah, that's very much a tool that they use. Okay, I needed to get to this part. So
Just tell
the
people a
part
little
where
bit
she
about
kind of
what her
loses
testimony
it.
was all about.
Uh,
Specifically dealing with the identification of
yeah. So
who she saw.
here's what's really fascinating in this case to me is they kept out the composite sketches that were on their witness
Yeah,
list
this.
that were made, at the time or shortly thereafter. They kept those out. Not one person who came in the courtroom pointed at Rick Allen and said, he's the guy I saw on the trail that day.
Nope.
And
None of their
that's where I was
witnesses-
going with this. Was
Yeah. Not
Because-
one of their witnesses testified it was Rick Allen. They never asked the question. Why didn't they ask the question?
So why do you think they did? And specifically on Voorhees, she said she was 5'7". She said he was taller
Deep
than her.
in the house.
He said she had light brown hair, curly. You could see it outside of the hat. He was muscular and then not muscular. But a lot of things that, and 20 to 30 years old, a lot of things that do not indicate that it was Richard Allen. Why do you think the state did not ask the question?
I'm not going to ask a question if the answer hurts me. Nick McClellan's a good lawyer. Stacey Diener's a good lawyer. James Luttrell is a good lawyer.
And
They're not going to ask a question if the answer hurts them.
And I'm sure you can't answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. Why didn't the defense ask? There was another witness, I think, but I don't think you handled it, so I can't ask about that. But there was a lot there that indicated it kind of wasn't him. Why didn't the defense ask or have her stand next to Richard Allen and say, well, he's shorter than you, right?
Right. Well, look, Rayleigh Voorhees is friends with Kelsey German. They shared a look when Rayleigh left the stand. She looked over at Kelsey, nodded. And I'm not saying that there would be anything intentional.
Hang on.
But, there's a lot, in 7.5 years, there's a lot of revisionist history going on.
So especially considering the relationship and your belief that this witness would not want to say anything that would damage the state's case, sounds like you're saying contributed to you not asking that additional question.
I don't know if it's that causational. I just think in 7.5 years, a lot can affect your memory. Right. And not that it would be intentional in any way. I'm not suggesting anyone would get up there and lie. But I think a lot of things could have affected her memory in 7.5 years.
And wanting to recreate it.
Yeah, you want to create it, and look, everybody wants to give the family an answer. So,
and it's much more telling to me that the state didn't ask. I mean, for sure. They've got every single witness that came in, they didn't ask. And when you're the defense, you don't want to ask a question you don't know the answer to. And like you're saying, with so much time going by, and someone might want to be like, I want to have gotten it right. So it might help them sort of recreate the memory in a way that makes
golden rule any trial lawyer should know is you never ask a question that you don't know what the answer is going to be. That's pretty standard, I think.
it right being Richard Allen.
sure. And I'm not going to be in a courtroom and give them a composite of 12 people and say, was Bridge Guy one of these people? There's only one guy she can point to.
Right.
Right. Everybody knows
Yeah.
who Rick Allen is. Everyone knows who's been charged. So, yeah, and none of the alleged eyewitnesses, none of the people who said they saw Bridge Guy gave a description that matched Richard Allen.
No.
I don't remember in the closing. Did either of the lawyers say the words, "How come the state never asked any of these witnesses to identify Richard Allen? If he's Bridge Guy, if he's who they saw," and I just don't remember because I wasn't there and I only have memory of watching, everyone else's coverage.
I don't remember either. I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's-
can't
Probably could
remember.
have asked
I
me
can't
right
remember.
after, and I probably wouldn't have remembered
I
unless
don't know
was.
if I don't know if
listening to
Brad
it.
I don't know if Brad said it, but I've got two questions related to that. One, are you aware in the discovery, like typically what they do when you've got eyewitnesses in most cases, is, and if there has been a passage of time between when the crime occurs or the crimes, and they make an arrest, and typically they'll go back with a 6-pack, which is law enforcement will put pictures of six
Six-pack.
kind of similar looking people, and they'll
Six
go to
people.
those witnesses and they'll say,
Wow.
hey, do you recognize any of these people? And then the witness will look at it and they'll either say yes or no or maybe, and then they'll indicate it on a 6-pack. Did those exist in this case? Did you see those? Did law enforcement do that as far as you know?
No, because Rick Allen came 5.5 years later. So that's why I think they were doing the composite sketches.
I
No,
still
I'm talking
think
about
they-
after.
All right. I want to go to the part where they ask her if she believes that he's innocent. I thought it might be
Just
just
tell people-
before
Plugged in.
this.
Or where the phone was.
especially considering back.
Ah, there it is. Yeah, it's right there.
Like you said, there are a lot of lawyers. There aren't a lot of trial lawyers. The rules of ethics.
Here we
it
go.
in, and we're sure of it. That kind of speaks volumes when you have a cop saying something like that to the
Oh, there we
press.
go.
So I'm like, all right, like you make the arrest and you're confident. And I think that when they made the arrest, they were confident they had the right guy. I think in their hearts and their minds, they believed they had the right guy. I just wonder from your perspective. I mean, I don't even know if you can answer. I'm going to ask the question. I understand if you can't answer it. Do you believe that Richard Allen is factually innocent?
I can't say that. The rules of ethics.
Okay.
Prevent her from answering that,
be
but she can answer how she felt when
I
they
can say, I mean, I believe in my client's innocence. He has maintained that. I think that there is so much reasonable doubt in this. And you asked, what does that feel like?
No, I don't think it means no boyfriends.
It's gutting. This is like you said, there are a lot of lawyers. There aren't a lot of trial lawyers. And of those trial lawyers, not everyone is going to stand up and fight for someone accused of murdering 2 children. I believe very strongly in our case. I believe very strongly that there was reasonable doubt. And it was my job to show that to the jury. And they didn't.
Aw.
And it'll be a while to get over this. So
yeah.
it's the worst feeling you can imagine.
Oh.
There are finding out my dad died in a car accident. Those are the kind of moments that are just the worst moments of your life.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that. And
Wow. See, this is what I mean, right? When I say that defense attorneys, they're just like, they're a different breed, right? It takes a different kind of person to be able to put in the blood, sweat, and tears and deal with the crap that people give you and stand up for the rights of somebody who's accused of just the worst crime, and then to know that the person didn't do it and have to deal with now she can't even say that she believes he's innocent because that's supposedly unethical. I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know that once someone is found guilty that it's considered unethical for an attorney to say that, like, continue to pronounce the person innocent. Yeah, I'll have to talk to lawyers about that. David, are you still in chat?
I think he went to bed.
Did he? Yeah, I'll talk to Sean, Andrew. That's a new one for me. That's a new one for me. I've not come across that one before.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No. Those of you who think she doesn't think he's factually innocent, remember this is Brad and Andy's case. They went on a limb saying that they believe he was factually innocent. Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see whether or not they say it tonight and tomorrow, but maybe they won't. Maybe there is an ethical boundary there at this point in time now. I mean, with Zach's case, we never got to speak to his lawyers again after he was pronounced guilty. So it's just very interesting. I've not come across it before, but obviously we've seen defense attorneys be very clear that they believe someone is innocent prior to being found guilty, and that's a big thing, right? That is no small thing for them to come out and be clear about the fact that they think that their client is innocent. They're really putting their reputation on the line to do that. And Andrea came on here and said that very clearly about Ann Taylor and Eliza Massoff, and I can never say her name right, Massoff. But yeah, I just can't say it. But even the attorneys that were put in for Rick temporarily when Baldwin and Rosie were taken off the case, they said that he was innocent.
They stepped up.
Yeah, they did. It's so impressive that these attorneys are willing to put themselves out there like lambs to the slaughter after the LE presser that lambasted them. We want to look at that now, actually. What did she have to say about that? That's a really good segue. Thank you. Presser.
Let's quit talking about the conspiracy theories where you've got attorneys out there that are saying things like, well, if these defense attorneys were good people, that they wouldn't even appeal it because Rick Allen had wanted to confess, and his defense attorneys are the ones that is stopping him from confessing. It's all the defense attorneys that wouldn't let Rick Allen confess because he desperately wanted to confess. I don't know if you can speak on it.
Please ask Brad and Andy about that.
I will.
I
will.
Look, again, our Constitution allows him to appeal. And we have to follow the rule of law. If there is no security in Rick Allen's conviction, right? If we're not getting the right person, and I'm saying this generally, not even about Rick Allen, but if there's no justice to convict the wrong person, that just compounds the injustice, and it compounds the trauma for many more people.
Yeah.
You know, we have a system, and that kind of was a theme throughout the sentencing. Don't appeal, don't appeal, don't appeal. Well, if you're secure in the trial, if you're secure in the process, if you're secure in your conviction, in your verdict, you shouldn't be afraid of that.
Nope.
Yep.
Especially because they're so hard to win. But speaking of sentencing,
but
Okay.
the insinuation is that it's the defense attorneys that are convincing Rick not to appeal, or that are convincing him not to refuse to appeal it, to just because he wants to accept responsibility. Like, that's the narrative that they're spinning. Like, that is the narrative that they're spinning out there, that Rick desperately wants to admit to these crimes and apologize to the families.
Well, the good news is then we have 2 new appellate counsel.
right.
So they can take it from there.
Right.
But that would be highly unethical to not allow it. Whether someone accepts a plea is purely their decision. And it would be highly unethical to not allow someone in their right mind to take a plea if that's what they want to do.
Exactly. Now, again, turning to sentencing, everyone has been dying to know what happened with you and Nick at the end of sentencing.
Yeah, we didn't get
Nick
to
and I had a
hear
small
it.
discussion.
They had a small discussion.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
That's all she's going to say.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, back here.
Absurd and hurtful.
Okay.
with people on the other side of it that just weren't willing to have it because they just dismissed the whole Odin theory is utter bullshit.
And just close their eyes to
ridiculous.
any facts like they did at the press conference. It was
the press
it was
conference.
appalling, and I hope you guys got. I mean, there were a lot of people watching that live that were like, you
Here we
basically
go.
just saying how disgraceful what the police were saying, and how they were trying to paint the defense team. Knowing what we all know, but it's what we see them do. They just say whatever they want to say and pretend that it's true. And
Look at her getting ready.
I've never seen a press conference like that. Like,
Yeah.
I typically you have the prosecutor come out and say some very quick words. Look, we appreciate that the jury did their job. They listened to the evidence. We believe that they came back with the correct verdict. And, then they thank law enforcement for their hard work. And then they step aside. And then, you'll typically get a cop just come up there and say, oh, we're relieved. We're relieved that the jury came back with the verdict because we believe that we had the right guy. What that thing turned into with the mudslinging and just the reputation damage that was done to 3 attorneys that went about their business under the closest
Well,
I've seen is my wife going through
Right?
the
Allie's been through it.
Go, Jennifer.
I don't think there's any reputation damage.
I hope not.
not in
it's
the legal profession, everyone saw right through that.
yeah, it's super frustrating because when you say that Brad and Andy were responsible for someone's death, which is absurd and hurtful to Andy for a lot of reasons, and absurd. And you talk about the defense being unethical. What you're doing is you're putting targets on our back because there are those people who will believe you, who think that we've done something wrong. Right after the sentencing, a man came up to us and said he hopes we all burn in hell. Okay, I respect your opinion. That's fine. But if something were to happen to us, Brad and Andy have had death threats. You've now put a target on our backs, and who's going to investigate?
Yeah.
Right.
The very people who put the target on the back. And I want to address this too, because I was really disappointed in a lot of the things
I love this
that
bit.
were said, and I really want to touch about this. And I pulled it off specifically when Doug Carter said, "How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served, and if you don't like justice in this country, go to another one."
Oh.
Let's tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and the nonsense and the conspiracy theories. Let's talk about that, please, for a minute, because that is so unbelievably infuriating. We have a system that includes a system for appeals, because the fact of the matter is sometimes juries get it wrong. And what you're trying to do is say, if you don't believe in this jury's verdict, you should leave and go to another country. Well, what if all the people who came out for the Memphis 3 did that? Because, there were 3 kids who were convicted in Memphis of murder. And it was because of people speaking out for them and movie stars and
Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, exactly. That it's because of that. Because those people didn't go to another country, because they spoke out and did the right thing, that those 3 were released. One of them had to learn how to walk again because he'd been in solitary confinement. One of them had to have eye surgery because he hadn't seen sunlight. And they were not guilty. And what about the Central Park 5? What if no one stood up for them? What if all those people moved to another country? Mm-hmm. What happens there? My son just made me watch the movie The Hurricane. He doesn't it hit a little close to home. I love him. Reuben Carter, who was convicted. 3 people moved from Canada here. They came to our country to speak out, to procure his release from jail. This isn't how we operate in this country. No. When have we lost the ability to listen to other people's opinions and say, that's okay? That man who wants me to burn in hell, that's fine. I'm a big girl. I knew what I was signing up for. You can say that. I don't care. And I'm not going to get into a fight with you over it. And I'm not going to tell you should move to another country.
Right, but for the government to get on television and suggest to everybody that this is the end, it's over, and no one should ever talk about it again, like you're saying, when there's an entire appellate system set up for this very reason, and there are wrongfully convicted, exonerated all over the country, every day of the week, it's such an exorbitant number that so many states have done away with the death penalty because
Illinois.
Exactly.
I loved that rant by Jennifer. That was amazing. Clearly, she's been holding that one in for a couple of weeks now. And I just love how she didn't attack them. She just spoke about how wrong it was for that kind of thinking to be in America right now, or at all, right? And how that's against the principles of the United States, right? So this is just not the way it should be. And she didn't say anything about them killing anybody, about them being disgusting and disgraceful. No, she didn't make it personal. It's such a different way to approach it than the way they did, the way Doug Carter did it, the way that press conference was just about mudslinging towards the defense team and saying, just everyone shut up, basically, be happy that we've done our job and we've done our job so well, and this monster is now put away. And in contrast, now we have this woman who is very respectfully refuting those points. She is being incredibly respectful. I think, yes, Jennifer embodies tact and grace. You're absolutely right. Kindness matters. And it's the only way to be. If she were to come back and throw mud back at Doug Carter, at the prosecution team, Nick McClelland, that would just it would just fuel the fire. But she's just been absolutely wonderful in the way that she's responded, and she's so right. How have we gotten to a point where people can't listen to each other and respect each other's points of view? Where? What? Why? How is that possible? And she's right. There is a whole appellate system for this. There's a reason it exists. People, law enforcement do get it wrong, and that he doesn't want to hear that, though, right?
You're Ryan.
Because a lot of times they get it wrong, and you don't want to put someone to death. So I found it appalling as well. And you were speaking about the Norse paganism and this whole, just going back to the whole, this wasn't something that came from the defense. There was an FBI witness that you attempted to present that you weren't able to. Can you remind the people about that?
I believe you're speaking about Agent Pohl.
Yes.
Agent Pohl was not going to testify about Nordic paganism. Agent Pohl was going to presumably talk about a discussion he'd had with Brad Weber. And so I felt I tried very diligently to work with the FBI and to get his testimony. And he, during the trial, so, the election happened during the trial. Right. And Agent Pohl was in charge of election security in Texas. So that seemed kind of like a big deal, not only to me, but to the FBI. And then we found out he had a medical condition that kept him from flying up here. So we asked, the court has the ability for good cause shown to allow someone to testify remotely. His testimony was going to be short. And we thought, if the fact that he gets on a plane and could die, that seemed like good cause.
And this would have been to combat, I'm assuming Weber's testimony, or was Weber's testimony about driving a van, or was that what it was? Yeah. Was that a surprise that Weber was switching the automobile that he had been driving that day? If you
there were a few surprises.
From Brad Weber.
And this,
Well, no, let me jump in. The primary surprise was that he changed his story entirely, which was originally to Pohl and the Hammond cop. He had told them that he didn't go straight home, that he went out to service his ATM machines when he left work. So he changed the story completely. Like when he came in and testified, and he was their last witness in their case in chief. And like the whole courtroom, and Judge Gull did a pretty good job about keeping us really, really quiet in the gallery. She ruled with an iron fist with respect to that. But like the buzz in the courtroom when he came in and took the stand and, said what he said on direct, and then was so combative with Andy on cross, and just locked into this whole statement. And Andy had a brilliant moment of cross-examination wherein, and it wasn't even with Brad Weber. It was when he had Mullen on the stand, when he had asked Mullen if he had communicated with Brad Weber about what the topic of discussion was going to be when they called Brad Weber back so many years later to discuss something. And Mullen says, I didn't say a word to him. I just said, hey, man, we just need to talk to you. Come on in. And then
he came
Weber
ready,
had-
armed and ready.
Yeah,
no,
but text
Weber
message.
had said that, he came in armed and ready, meaning he had gone through all his text messages in order to see what vehicle he was driving that day.
Hey.
However, he allegedly had gone in not knowing anything about what the topic of discussion was going to be. So,
And
to
I
me-
forgot they changed the time. He changed the timeline. He got home
Oh,
at
yeah,
2:30
he
versus
changed it
3:30.
completely.
That was
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it was-
that happened. All right, guys. So we're getting ready to go over to Defense Diaries chat. I just wanted to say, Erin M. Town, so glad to have a graphic designer explain interpolation of pixels. Maybe more people will now be able to understand that the entire bridge guy may actually be fictional. As far as I'm concerned, the whole thing with Bridge Guy is a complete distraction. I wish the jury hadn't have paid so much attention to the whole Bridge Guy thing. Unfortunately, that is what the prosecution hung their hat on, and I understand why they did it. It seemed like the linchpin of the case, but unfortunately, that wasn't what they should have been looking at. They should have been looking at the crime scene, because the crime scene told the real story. KLF, I'd really want to look into this more. The young man who died in the Tippecanoe River had only 65 Facebook friends. Kelsey is one of those 65. Let's talk about that. That's very interesting. Okay, guys, we're going to teleport over to the Defense Diaries chat so that we don't miss it. Thanks everyone for hanging out. We'll do this again tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
Sounds good.
And everybody, make sure that you stick around at the end of the interview and go over to R&M Productions and Angie's chat, because she's doing the after party. So pre-party over here, after party over there. Yay! And welcome new mods as well. And any new members, make sure that you go into our Discord, because if you go to member, the membership tab and go to perks, you get into our Discord. Yay! Nice to Ella, yep, indeed. All right, time for the song, and then we're heading straight over.
Her name was Helen. She was an awesome
All right.
She was a fake lawyer from the future. She got on YouTube and made some live streams. The co-host is Donnie and she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud and because she's an 803. To be a citizen.